All right. Hey, everybody. It's Phoenix Flight. So, we're going to be taking a look at a fresh replay here on the Mechabellum Discord server. We got a huge influx of new players with the 1.0 update, so really good time to get some beginners who are looking for some feedback to open up, get the fundamentals down. So, we are going to be looking at our protagonist, Sir Sin over here, who is approximately 400 MMR. So this is going to be the lowest rated game that I'll be reviewing to date. Which is fine, every one of us started at 0 MMR once upon a time, and a little bit of teaching can go a long way. So, I can't look at the specialist when it's paused. Yeah, so we got Fire Badger Specialist for Sir Sin, and Saber Special for AbSol. So I'm liking the positioning of the arc lights and the sledgehammers to start. Also sick sledgehammer skin, the blaze. Enemy starting out with Mustangs, which get hard countered by both arcs and sledges. This is why in intermediate and higher levels of play, we typically don't like starting with Mustangs, as a lot of early game units counter them hard. Okay, round 2 here. Though I will say the crawlers in the front is a mistake. The reason why is if you look, the crawlers are 16 meters a second. They're very fast. Meanwhile, the sledges and arcs are only 7 meters per second, so they're significantly slower. So what's going to happen is these crawlers are going to run out in front, die, and then the arc lights and tanks arrive after they're all dead. The purpose of chaff is to essentially be meat shields for your more important units, right? It's so frustrating when a marksman or sabertooth, etc., shoots at a single crawler versus an arc light, sledge, giant, etc., right? It's a waste of their value. So because crawlers are so fast, you'd want them behind these units, so then given their speed, they'll still overtake them, but they won't be so far ahead that they'll be wasted. But okay, we got the Fire Badger coming down, and the enemy has a Saber coming down as the Sabertooth special. So let's see what cards are available and try to strategize around that accordingly. Also very unusual crawler formation here from your opponent, but this could be something with the crawlers and Mustangs all sort of bunched up like this, especially the crawlers and the wings. You could really punish that with the Fire Badger if you place it properly. So let's take a look at these one by one. I'm going to go pretty in depth here, as this is a lower level player trying to learn the fundamentals here. So Assault Scorpion, too early to tell if it would be good. So it's neither here nor there. Improved Fortress, it's a little early to be thinking about giants, and if you pick this, you're pretty much telling your hand, right? You're showing that you will build fortresses at some point, and then the enemy can prepare for that accordingly. Same deal with the Improved Ore Factory. So, as you can imagine, enemy probably is going to go for the subsidized Mustang, given he already has Mustangs, so he has a reason to go for more of them, because then it makes the technologies that he could purchase more useful, as it would affect more units. So from your perspective, I would either go subsidized Mustang or skip. The other three are not all that appealing. So let's see what we're going to do here. Okay, so as expected, the opponent went for subsidized Mustang, and it looks like you may have skipped. I think, yeah, you skipped because you got the extra money. So I like that play. Enemy, as expected, with sub Mustang is going into more Mustangs. This is so dangerous for your opponent because he knows you have a Fire Badger coming. So having the Mustangs all bunched up together makes the Fire Badger significantly stronger. Phoenixes, this is a very dangerous play because we knew that he was likely going to go into subsidized Mustang because he already had Mustangs on the field. Mustangs are effectively a very hard counter to the Phoenixes. So this is a mistake. The Phoenixes are going to really struggle in the situation. I understand the idea of having them to deal with the Sabertooth. We can see the crawlers here. They're coming out in front and they're dying before any of these units have a chance to get a single shot off, right? Then I like your central placement of the Badgers. It's, you know, it's a very safe position for them in terms of, you know, if you're unsure where the right spot is, central isn't usually a bad idea. But, you know, now I think about it, because you have arcs and sledges, you're able to kill the Mustangs fast enough for the Phoenixes to get through, on this side at least. So, I mean, enemy... Alright, if your enemy wants to punish this, you should really go into range on the Mustangs and keep them back. Alright, let's... Oh, whoa, that was really fast. Okay, so enemy went into a free Melter. Melter doesn't really make that much sense this early unless he's really just going to build for the late game, just starting to get Giants out early. As for you, Marksman doesn't make sense. I mean, this is a heavy chaff field. Lots of light, fragile units. Marksman excel at tankier units. Wasp would be devastating. The Mustangs would just shred them apart. I mean, I know it's a level 3, but this is just overwhelming numbers of Mustangs. It would be too risky to go into the Wasps. Same deal with the Fangs, because Mustangs are really good anti-Fang units as well. So, this is a really unusual situation, and this is one of those things where it's kind of like these lower level games are a little more chaotic because neither player has learned the fundamentals yet, so it can get pretty crazy, which is entertaining and whatnot for me. But so it's either maybe Melter as like the long-term play, or you maybe do Fangs and maybe do like delay Fangs, maybe put them like in the back here, back there as like an anti-flank, and then maybe another one in the middle, something like that. Because knowing that this is a low-level game, I can almost certainly predict that these crawlers might be the only chaff that's going to be on the field all game for you, most likely. In higher levels of play, you'll see that players have chaff, which chaff are defined as Fangs and crawlers, just like little pack units. You'll see they'll come in multiple waves, so that the idea being when the first set of chaff dies, that's when the second wave starts coming in, and then they die off. Then the third wave comes in, and so on. So you're constantly distracting units, such as this Melter, right? Because the Melter doesn't get much value when it's shooting a crawler, right? It gets value hitting larger units. Okay, so 3 marksmen. I mean, I get it for the Saber. Like, this is... The unit drop wasn't great for you. You didn't have... Well... Alright, no, the marksmen are a problem. I thought I paused. The marksmen are a problem because they overlap with the Phoenix. So, marksman and Phoenix have the same role. They're both long-range sniper units. So you have 2 units that are essentially doing the same type of job. But again, you know, it's a weird unit drop. None of them are really, like, amazing for you, so it kind of is what it is. Alright, so let's sword down here. See, what's going to happen is because there's very little chaff, watch this Saber. It should be able to wipe out these Fire Badgers quickly. Once your crawlers are gone, the Sabertooth can just feast. And then the Fire Badgers are gone. And your enemy is smart. The Sabertooth is a counter to the sledges, so he's putting that in the right spot. But a problem is the Mustangs need range. Mustangs are not frontline units. Mustangs excel when they've got tanky units in front and they're hanging out in the back with long range shooting at small targets and air units. So opponent should really get a range upgrade for those. Alright, as for this, barrier on a giant unit, yeah, barrier on the melters are pretty easy and pretty obvious choice for the opponent. It's either that or the absorb module are pretty reasonable. As for you, let's see. Let's see here. Okay, neither... Alright, so Phoenixes and Marksmen have a tech that's called Elite Marksman that you can get on the unit modification screen. I would highly recommend that either at least one of these units or both of them get that tech. What it does is for every level that the unit, the Marksman or Phoenix, increases, it increases the range and the damage of that unit. So having that tech plus intensive training is a really good synergy. So you can get like a really high level Marksman or Phoenix, and every time you level it, the range gets longer and longer and longer, and then the intensive training helps it rank up even faster, so you can get a unit getting out of control. But as for you, I mean, without that tech, intensive training is still nice, but not all that useful. There isn't really an obvious choice here. And you do go for the intense training. And what are you going to use it on? Okay, so it looks like you're building scorpions. Alright, he goes into range on the melters. That's okay. I don't like that you're taking a lone in round 4. So we take loans in the late game if we're with our backs against the wall and we're about to die and we're desperate, or if we're in the late game and we're about to win and we're gonna go all in and push for the kill if you think you can pull it off. I don't like that you're loaning this early. As for the Scorpion pick, it's a good counter to the Sabertooth. I mean, especially if you get range in particular, because right now the Saber's lack of range is one of its weaknesses. 95 is okay, but not amazing. You would also really benefit in going into, as you can see here, the arc lights, especially the ones on the outside here, like this arc light on the left's done the most damage all game, and this one's done the second most damage all game. So I would have prioritized upgrading these arc lights and maybe even giving them range. Oh, never mind. You have Elite Marksman on the arc lights. So you can see here, for every rank it goes up, it increases attack and range. So with the intense training, you can get an arc light spiraling out of control if the enemy doesn't stop it. Okay, it looks like you sold something. Okay, you sold off one of the marksmen, and he went into range. Good. Good. I like the range pick. You want to keep these far away from the sabers and the melters. But we can see here, look, the crawler's going to die quickly. And now that means all these other units can feast on your big units. It's just like, say, in intermediate and higher levels of play, right about now, crawlers that are placed behind the towers would be showing up to distract these guys. And then once those die off, crawlers that are in the back start showing up to continue the distraction later into the round. And then maybe even fangs in the back come in super late as like a last wave, right? So you're constantly distracting the saber teeth and the melters, right? Because, you know, if they're shooting fangs and crawlers, it means they're not shooting the units that you actually care about. But because you're taking out the Mustangs really efficiently with the arc lights and the sledges, that's letting the Phoenixes feast. So I imagine the Phoenixes are going to get out of control here. And because the Phoenixes are going to be doing well, I would recommend probably giving them a tech when the time is right here. Nice job from the Scorp. Okay, but you did take a loan that round, so your economy is weaker than the enemy. Alright, tank production line. I mean, you don't have a giant right now, so not ideal. I mean, that'd be a reasonable pick for the enemy to put tank production line on the other melter. Mass-produce Overlord makes no sense. There's tons of Mustangs on the field already and melters. Both of those are Overlord counters. So not only do they counter Overlords, they'd be countering weak Overlords. It would be a really bad play to go into mass-produced Overlord. Super heavy armor could work on one of the Scorps, but I wouldn't be a fan. Mostly just because if a melter gets locked on one of the scorpions, the extra health from the heavy armor doesn't really matter that much. Plus, these are like backline scorpions, given you put them in the back and have range on them. Some people like to put scorpions closer to the front and be like tanks soaking up damage, but that's not how you're playing them. Then subsidized crawler. Well, you only have 2 crawlers, so it makes no sense. And how the game's going right now, these guys are never going to get kills. They're never going to rank up, so it'd be a waste. So for you, it's probably skip would be the best option. I wouldn't at this level. Okay, you skipped. Oh, enemy skipped too. I'm surprised that you didn't go for the tank production line. Acid's pretty okay. I don't like that we're taking a loan again. We're going into more debt. Enemy going into multi-melter with the diffraction is pretty much a blunder. The reduction in range from this is going to be pretty devastating in a standard versus standard matchup. And if you're new to the community, when we mean standard is a game like this where most units are around the middle of the board and there's a bit of space in between each player, as opposed to aggro or aggressive when, say, one player stacks one side with units right on the line with the goal of trying to take out a tower really quickly and playing super aggressively and then leaving the back open, for example. So I bring this up because the range reduction in the melters is not a big deal if you're an aggro player. You know, if you're putting melters like right up on the line, then who cares about range, right? Or if you're defending against somebody who's an aggro player. But because we have a long range battle here, we got to be thinking about range pretty significantly. So, yeah, not a fan of the reduction in range. Plus, he could have used that money on the range check on the Mustangs, because you can look at the Mustang stats, they're falling off. They're not getting as many kills as they were in prior rounds. Extra Badgers. I mean, I get it in theory to wipe out the Crawlers and Mustangs, but we need chaff support, because right now what's going to happen is the melter is going to hit these pretty soon. Because there's no fangs in the way, no crawlers. See how wide open this is? So the melter's gonna latch onto all these guys right away. They'll get killed, and because he's killed, it means these crawlers live, and you see the phoenixes, they were wasting their time on the crawlers. See, that's the value that they provide. So, yeah, I mean, you have enough phoenixes at this point that giving them range would be a really good investment. Keep them further away, keep them a little safer, especially because of his units has, especially with the melters having their range reduced. So there you go, that's the first loss. We can bounce back, especially if we don't take loans and ruin the economy. Alright, let's take a look at these. 4 level 3 fangs would be pretty good if you do something like there, behind the tower, there. Mostly just because you would keep them away from the Mustangs, and they'd provide chaff support value. A big Rhino, level 5 Rhino, that'd be pretty horrible into this lineup with the Melters and the Sabers doing a good job countering the Rhino. You could try something crazy and put a Rhino down on the flank, buying the mobile beacon from the tower, and then setting the Rhino to go directly to the tower and go for a backstab. That's more of an advanced level play. A simpler play with this Rhino would be to get it and then just sell it immediately and then get the cash and put it into something else. Farseer, I don't see much use for the Farseer here. Farseer would be good. Maybe if you get like the EMP upgrade on it, but it's not a huge deal. Overlord would be a no. I mean, Melters, Mustangs, the Overlords are going to die quickly. So I would either go Rhino and sell, or the 4 fangs if they're a little bit back. The idea being once the crawlers are dead, that's when the fangs start showing up and providing more distraction. Alright. Alright, both sides go for overlords. If you go into range on the Phoenixes, then you'll be in much better shape. Because it'll keep them away from the Mustangs, keep them away from the Melters. They'll be safer and have more time to kill stuff. Okay, enemy is going to double down. Yeah, see, going into overlords as your enemy is pretty silly, given you already have Phoenixes, and even if marksmen still on the field, which counter overlords pretty nicely, especially if you get range, because overlords, you can see here, they have 110 meter range. Phoenix is 120, but that's without an upgrade. You get the range enhancement, overlord isn't going to get anywhere near your Phoenixes. Meanwhile, you've had this intensive training just sitting in here doing nothing. We should be using that on each. We should be taking a look at what units are doing well based on their statistics, and if there's one that would really benefit from a rank up, say the one that's doing really well, you know, you typically don't want to spread stuff like that out. You'd rather have like one really strong unit, generally speaking, right? So you know, it's better to have like one level 7 Phoenix than like 4 level 2 Phoenixes or something, right? Because then the level 7's like one-shotting the giants. Oh, you threw the overlord on the flank. There you go. That's how you do it. Saw that the flank was wide open, and you're punishing him for disrespecting it. That's a great play. I'm sorry I missed it. Let's see, this is where that's where range just comes into the game again. And you took care of it in 6 rounds. All right, congrats on the win. Yeah, this is certainly a game where the fundamentals are missed, but that's fine. You're still learning them. You know, a lot of new players in the game right now. So we're at... I'm just going to see if I could have won this round playing as your opponent. Okay. So the Phoenixes have been a problem for me all game long. I'm going to go into the farce here. Put one here. One here. Then... let's show the power of late chaff. So let's get some late crawlers going. 1, 2, 3. As to why we do a gap in the back, it's just because if a flank comes down with like a fire badger or something, there's space to place a rhino here to counter that. That's advanced level stuff though. But the point is, what's going to happen is, after these crawlers in the front die off, the ones in the back start showing up. Let's give these Mustangs range. They've needed it all game. I'd be afraid of those. Obviously, he was... So AbSol should have taken a loan. He was on the brink of death. Didn't respect it. I'm running out of time here, so I'm just going to do this, and this. Not the best play. And yeah, to only have 5 unit types available in the 6th round is kind of crazy. What should happen is there are free units that you can unlock each round. Like, say, marksmen, phoenixes, fangs, crawlers. In the early game, you should unlock all of them because they're free anyway. As you see here, this tower had a temporary range upgrade that I purchased, so all of my units got increased range. And see, let's look what's happening. So now the late crawlers are coming in, distracting the scorpions, so that gives these melters more time, because now they're shooting at the late crawlers, not the melters. Alright, and look how big of a difference it is. Obviously, it wasn't going to be... You know, that could have been the start of a comeback for AbSol. Alright, well, thank you so much for submitting your replay to the Mechabellum Discord. My name's Phoenix Flight. I stream on Twitch on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:45 p.m. Central United States time. And I do like reviewing replays on stream if anybody wants to submit one there. We can take a look. Yeah, so it was this guy that did the most. Farseer countered that. Yeah, you don't see it in the stats, but these crawlers coming in, distracting these scorpions was huge because that allowed the melters to get their work done. All right, thank you so much. Have a good night. Keep playing Mechabellum. See ya.